Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 210 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challen. This is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. And this week we have two guests, JD of the AR-15 podcast. Hey, JD, what's up?
Hey, Jake. Not much, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. And we have Ebbs of House of Guns and House of Arms. Hey, Ebbs.
Hey, Jake. How's it going, man?
It's going great. So a week in review, did you guys do anything gun-related the last week or two, JD?
I increased my collection, my abnormally obscene collection of AR lowers, which I seem to have a problem with, although, you know.
They're like playing cards, man.
They are, and I'm actually close to having a full deck, so I'm going to keep working on that. But
how do you spell watch list?
JD.
Yeah, nice.
I took a trip up to Oregon and was trying to make a deal happen for some firearms, but didn't fall through with all the stuff in the news. The price kind of went up through the roof, so I decided to abstain. So not much in the way of firearms this week.
Abs, how about you?
Well, hold on. You went all the way to Oregon on the chance of making a gun deal?
No, I went all the way to Oregon with two fishing poles and a week off from work.
Perfect. Okay. That sounds a little more sensible. Not that you need a reason, but it seems super hardcore. Like you're just holding it down for everybody around here. I've had an interesting week, 8 days or so. Specifically, though, today I got a call on my cell phone from Anniston, Alabama, and I was like, who do I know from this area? And then it dawned on me, so I answered it, and it was a woman by the name of Barbara from the Civilian Marksmanship Program telling me that my 2 Garands that I ordered back in February are ready to ship.
Wow.
So I've got 2 service-grade Garands that I've been waiting over 5 months for that are going to be on their way to me this week. So I'm hyper stoked about that. One's going to stay original, and then the other one I'm going to send to, I can't remember his first name. His last name is Shufflin. In Ohio or maybe it's Michigan. Sorry, Michigan and Ohio listeners. I always get you guys confused, and I know that's like rabid, blood-curdling sounds to hear, but you kind of run together. But it's Shuff's Parkerizing, and he revamps Garands into these shortened, kind of a tanker, angry-looking setup. I'm going to have it converted to 308. Have it converted to take box magazines, M1 mags, as opposed to the stripper clips, the top feeding setup. Last round bolt hold open, and I think the overall length of that package is like 38 inches. So way cool setup. I think of it. You've seen like the Springfield SOCOM 2s and stuff. I think of it kind of as like a G.I. Joe version of that. So. And it's really a tragedy that I'm going to take like this 1944 Springfield and hack it beyond recognition, but that's what I got to.
Yeah, you got people screaming in their iPhones right now.
You know what? I'm doing it because I can. So they can deal with that.
That should be in a museum, Abs.
They should be being shot, man. Unless it's an actual Garand that stormed Guadalcanal. If it's a surplus one that's been sitting in a crate, that sucker is going to get manipulated and turned into an absolute monster that's going to get used. So
very cool.
Take that. And I think the barrels. I want to say he uses Criterion barrels, blanks. They're like Garand blanks that they make. So it's like a button rifled setup, supposed to be super, super accurate. So it'll go from that 26-inch barrel. I think it's down to a 18 or 20-inch barrel setup. Anyway, all that to say it's going to be awesome.
Amazon, you shop in Amazon. That's right. If you're listening right now, every time you go shop Amazon, first click through our Amazon affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. You can bookmark that, click through it, and every time you shop, a small portion of your sale goes to supporting pro-gun shows like Gun Guy Radio. So please shop our Amazon affiliate link. And Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. Have some awesome pro-gun T-shirts over there at Patriot Patch, and we even have. How'd you describe your T-shirt size, JD?
Aircraft carrier.
Yes, we have aircraft carrier sizes, tanker truck sizes, all of the above, up to 5XL. So check it out, patriotpatch.co.
Do you shop on Amazon? How about your spouse? Does your mom? Does your company? Why not use the Firearms Radio Network's Amazon affiliate link next time you shop Amazon? Bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon or click through the Amazon link in the right-hand corner of firearmsradio.tv. Get it? Got it? Amazon it.
Main topic this week, teaching kids to shoot. Abs, this is kind of applicable to your current life situation.
Dude, I'm telling you.
Do you want to share real quick what's going on in your world?
Yeah, was this episode going to be released forthwith very soon?
It'll be releasing this Sunday.
Okay, well, here's what happened. So 8 days ago, we had the attack by Omar Mateen on the Orlando Pulse nightclub. And then the next day, Monday, so what was that, the 13th, we had the New York Daily News journalist, well, hold on, put that in quotes, journalist, Gersh Kuntzman, went to a firing range he wanted to see what the hype was all about. Why AR-15s? And so he went to the range. He got set up with one of the instructors, and it was just a completely eye-opening and traumatic experience for Kuntzman. He was horrified at the loud blast. It sounded like a cannon. I'm quoting now. I'm not even paraphrasing. He said he shot pistols before, but never something like an AR-15. Now, granted, if you're a gun guy and you've been around guns at all, he's describing an AR-15 M4 style light carbine as any of us would consider shoulder firing a Barrett M82A1. Like, his description for launching a 55 grain projectile, 5.56, 223 projectile downrange is what any of us would describe shooting like a 577 T-Rex at an elephant or something, okay? So he talks about squeezing lightly on the trigger, and the resulting explosion of firepower is humbling and deafening, even with ear protection. He claims that the recoil from this rifle bruised his shoulder, okay? So he has some sort of hemoglobin disorder with his blood. And he said it can happen if you don't know what you're doing, and the brass and shell casings disoriented them as they flew past his face, and the smell of sulfur and destruction made him sick. I mean, like the backspeak and narrative that he's adding to this, he's trying to portray the gun in a murderous fashion. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to make the gun look awful, really killy, super murderous. And instead, he's making himself look like a man-sized toddler, okay? He says the explosions are like a bomb and gave him a temporary form of PTSD, which, by the way, is the most offensive thing about that he said, especially for people who actually have real PTSD and have seen some serious crap and have a hard time proceeding through their life the way that they would have before as a result of that. He said he was anxious and irritable, blah, 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 blah. Well, what happened was I have a video that I posted to the House of Guns YouTube channel 2 years and 2 months ago, actually almost 2 years and 3 months ago, of my daughter, 7, almost 8 years old at the time, shooting an AR-15 for the very first time. It wasn't even something we planned to do. I had a Black Rain trigger. It was new, announced at SHOT Show that year. It was their version of a drop-in trigger. I put it in a Palmetto, Palmetto State build that I had with a upper that was just a mid-length test upper, which are known to be a little more soft shooting in terms of rise and recoil, felt recoil. And it had a Griffin Armament muzzle adapter for a suppressor on it, but we weren't shooting it suppressed. In fact, this specific muzzle device is particularly loud. I gave her 5 shots. I walked her through step by step. I told her what to expect. I told her where the fire controls were, about keeping her finger off the safety between shots. She had never shot a semi-automatic gun in her life. She shot bolt-action Cricket 22 guns, single-shot bolt-action guns that have multiple steps that you have to take to fire each shot. She has her favorite gun is a Thompson Center Hot Shot 22. They actually don't make them anymore. It's just a kind of a mock Encore or G2 Contender style rifle that's like barely the legal length for non-SBR. It's like 27 inches or something. But it's easy. Break it open, put a round in, close it, cock it, fire and shoot. She's accurate. She's proficient. She's safe. She understands safe handling of firearms, and she's not afraid of them. Well, people, because the internet's so marvelous, decided to take that video and start memeing it along with photos of Gersh Kuntzman and his quotes, and then they started making video memes, and then the video just exploded and started getting shared all over the place, and Steven Crowder, the YouTube sensation and Fox News pundit, picked it up and shared it on his blog, and then it made it on Daily Mail, the liberal smear online rag newspaper. Last night, it made it on the Blaze website last night. And I did a couple of radio shows, local radio shows, one in San Diego and one in upstate New York this morning and then this afternoon, talking about why it's important to teach our kids to use guns or safe handling of firearms, especially if you are a gun owner, especially if your kid's going to be around guns, because they're going to see what mom and dad are doing. They're going to see what they're interested in, and it's going to make them curious. So it's better to educate them about safe handling. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean shooting, but if they do shoot, if they do feel the power of the tool, they understand the gravity of what they can accomplish, what they could do, and it teaches them how to respect life even more. That was really long. I'm sorry.
No, good stuff. I think you just wrapped up our episode.
Yep. JD, thanks for joining us. And
I want Ebbs to commentate all my news every day.
Yeah, I'll add things in parentheses and background information and ridiculous things regarding everything that happens.
Joining us this week, a Fox News correspondent, Ebbs.
Yeah, because that guy, he's just like Cher. He doesn't actually have a last name.
So the first part of this, I think we're going to cover fundamentals and how we instill those into the kids. Or do you think we should start somewhere else? Does that sound good?
Yeah. I mean, for me, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, before the fundamentals and things, for my kids, for my 5 guys, it was just having the guns around them so they were comfortable with them. So before we got into any handling or, anything, it was how to do it safely, how to clean them at the kitchen table, which went over well with my spouse. So they were out and they saw them, and over time, everybody would sit around the table and watch me clean them. And then the girls started peeling off because they're not Barbies. although you can accessorize an AR-15 like a Barbie, but the boys would show interest and they'd hang around and my older daughter would. So I think before I even started the fundamentals with them, they saw me tear down the rifles, tear down the pistols. So they knew a little bit about what was going on, and they weren't this big mystery. So even before I got into fundamentals with them, that's the first step I took with my kiddos.
That's really good, because I'm just getting into the age range where my kids are ready to shoot, and I just took I shared the story a few weeks ago about taking my oldest to shoot for the first time, and my oldest is very analytical, so I can see he's very curious, so I can see that taking it apart, cleaning it would be a good step in the right direction.
I think that's awesome, because, your exposure and the visibility of the firearms is different for every family and every kid. Like my oldest daughter, the one from the video, began being around firearms and being at different ranges and even private property and stuff, seeing me shoot and understanding like the noise and even the concussion that you can feel in your face from firearms when she was about 2.5 years old. And then especially this summer when she was 3, I was actually laid off that summer. So I did so much shooting, which is a great way to save money, by the way, if you're shooting all your ammo and you're out of work. But for her exposure came not so much seeing them at home or taking them apart, but being around and starting. So the instruction, like the 4 laws of firearm safety and stuff like that, started for me at the range, because that happened to be where she saw them and where she was nearby. And so every kid is different. Their age, their capacity for understanding the gravity of firearms is different. You can't take a classroom full, maybe there's 24-year-olds, for instance, that you have, and say all of them are going to be at the same place in terms of respect and knowledge and maturity, because they have different personalities. So, you get some like 4-year-olds that are extremely free-willed and independent spirits, and they don't want to listen to instruction, and they're stubborn. They, like my oldest daughter is, I like to think she's a free thinker, but she's compliant. She follows direction well. She respects authority. My youngest, it's 5 now, still hasn't been back to the reins since she was about 3.5, because she gets pissed off whenever you try to pull her back from something or explain. She just wants to do it herself. So she needs more years before she's even ready to think about having her finger on a trigger.
Yeah, well said. I can already see that with my kids too, that my oldest was definitely ready before a couple of the other ones will be. I can already tell. What about any training aids, tools, like CERT laser pistols, anything like that? Have you guys tried anything like that? No.
I've stayed away from the laser pistols or letting them use them, just because I want them to be able to be drilled into them when they are holding a firearm. It's those 4 rules that you need to follow. It will destroy something. So if I give them a laser pistol, I don't want to mix it up. There will come an age where I believe my oldest, who's not that far away, will be able to use a laser pistol in training and be able to differentiate between I'm holding a real gun, I'm holding a training pistol. I still need to follow the rules. I just don't want to confuse them right now. I don't want to add any more than let's follow the 4 rules. Let's be respectful. Let's listen and follow that.
I agree with that 100%, and I think that's fantastic, because differentiating potentially for kids, let's say 10 and under especially, just to be really generic, is hard enough when you're talking about them playing. Jake, you were talking about the kids, in your neighborhood and your kids having Nerf battles and stuff. Those are different enough, hopefully, that you could tell easily and readily the difference between. Most trainers are made to look like real firearms and feel like real firearms and have the weight of real firearms in your hands. And I don't, until they're interested in until my children are interested in increasing their proficiency, maybe on their own, and with the ability to respect it and treat the trainer as an actual firearm, then I don't have any interest in implementing those to train. Like I want them to have a healthy respect that borderlines fear with the guns themselves, and so in turn would not personally use a training device, as it were, to introduce.
So I want to break down for listeners a little bit more. What age do I take my kid to the range to allow them to shoot for their first time? That's a question people are always asking themselves. How did you answer that, JD, in your life?
I'd go from it as your kid the best. I mean, their personalities, how they're going to respond to certain situations. With me, my oldest son was the first one to shoot, and he came out at 8. And now he probably could have handled it earlier, but I'm not sure I could have. So I had to learn how to be patient, more patient with him on the firearms, and he showed me that he was able to be quizzed on the four rules. Anytime I asked him, I told him, if you want to go, I need to be able to ask you anytime, day or night, and you need to be able to tell me that. So it became a game for us, and I'd quiz him on the rules, and I'd ask him, what's number 1 or what's number 2, or if I'm shooting and I'm just shooting a target and there's nothing behind it but desert forever, am I shooting safe? And, he struggled with that. Well, there's only desert behind you, but you don't have a proper backstop. That bullet's going to keep going until it goes to the ground. So for him, it was to see that he was able to quickly respond to those rules, and that when I was cleaning the guns, he wanted to take part, touch, feel, see what a trigger break felt like when we had the gun apart. He showed that interest. And also, you can tell when a child or anybody handles the firearm with respect that it's due for what it can do. And I saw that in him. He has a sister that's the same age. She is not gone shooting, and I don't know if she's going to be able to soon, or if it's going to have to be down the road when she's a teenager. I have a 9-year-old son that is just about walking there to get there. So I think for each kid, it's going to be up to them and their level of interest to do it. My 2 little girls, I'd take the 2 6-year-olds out and shoot. I've taken friends, young kids out to shoot that were into it and ready to go. But my 6-year-olds could care less. They'd rather me go play T than go load magazines and shoot out in the desert. So I think it's just up to each person knowing their kid and knowing when they're ready and when they want to step out there with them to teach them that responsibility of handling and firing and cleaning and loading in and out, because my son gets to load in and out everything we do to earn the right to go out there and fire.
JD, what's it like cleaning your guns?
It's a nightmare.
Oh, I wouldn't know what that's like.
But, the good thing is the 10-year-old's to the point now where he doesn't realize that cleaning is actually a chore. He just tells mom or he tells his brothers what he was doing shooting, and he's able to help me clean. So he helps me cut down on half the cleaning time. I used to feel
that way. Like I used to enjoy the act of taking care of my guns and stuff like that, all the way through, even if they didn't need it. They'd been cleaned a week before I got out, ran a couple 100 rounds. I'd clean it. Then I got into reviewing guns, and there were so many rounds and so much shooting. I was like, you know what? This is modern steel and smokeless powder. Like, I live in Colorado and it's so dry here. It's fine. I mean, you're in Nevada, so
yeah.
like you get the drier than devil dust type mentality. I don't even know what that means.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Well, you can use it again. I don't know how people will respond.
So I think one of my goals with my kids is to teach them all to load magazines.
Oh yeah, nice. That's solid. Get those strong thumbs early.
We homeschooled for a while, and I took a picture of my 2 oldest loading magazines, and a friend grabbed the screenshot of it, memed it, and said homeschooling math, and they were loading 7.62 and 5.56. So they love it. They think it's so much fun, and they get angry when they don't get to load a magazine. My thumb's great shape because of my kids.
That's amazing.
Train them up early.
Yeah.
So how about we dive into some popular gun choices for teaching your kids? How about we start with us? What did we learn on? Abs, what did you learn on as a kid?
I learned on, in terms of early marksmanship, my dad made me use a 20 caliber air rifle, a pump air rifle. It was a Benjamin Sheridan Silver Streak would be the model now. And it took like 8 pumps. I was barely strong enough to pump it at 9 years old. And I had to get good with that before he would let me handle firearms. But after that, the gun that I shot the most until I was probably 12 was a Remington Model 34 22 rimfire. And it would handle long, short, and long rifle rounds with a 13-round, for long rifle, 13-round tubular magazine. And it was my great-grandfather's, so it was my dad's grandfather's rifle, an original 1934 model, and 50 yards open sights, lay everything inside of a quarter. It was so accurate, so much fun. And I actually have that gun and fixed it. The follower, the carrier that would deliver the round out of the tubular mag up to the level where the bolt could insert it into the chamber had broken, and actually found a whole parts gun, Model 34 on Gunbroker for like $40. Was able to buy that and then use the part out of that to replace the original. So it still runs perfect, super accurate, and I think we've cleaned it once, and that was the time that I fixed it a few years ago.
All right, JD, how about you?
My first experience was hunting in Oregon, and it wasn't a good one. I was handed a rifle. We were taking out hunting, and I scoped myself with a 30-06. So I didn't touch.
Wow. That sucks. That really
I didn't
sucks.
touch firearms until about 7 years ago. There was a home invasion next door. They kicked in the door next door. It was empty. And then they went to the next door because the light was out. At that time, I was like, I've got to get something to protect the family. So the first was H&K USP M40. I've shot that the most. And then my Daniel Defense M4 were the two that I started on. But
talk about hitting the ground running, man. That's so hardcore.
I have since learned that my kids need to go to college. And the guns aren't like those. I cherish those guns, and I've got several more HKs, but I didn't learn on a 22. I wish we could go back in time and remove the scope from my eye without all the blood, and learn on something a little bit better before jumping in to a 30-06 and just being handed a gun. That's why I'm kind of anti those videos that you see where
it's terrible. Those are awful.
A powerful gun. Yeah. And then you watch them get hurt, and you know that just could ruin somebody from handling. I never had a problem with guns, but just wasn't into them until there was a necessity. And now I've got a disease.
Yeah. What about you, Jake?
I started with like a Red Ryder BB gun was like the first quote-unquote gun. And then the first technically real firearm was a bolt-action Winchester. I think it was a Winchester 69. Similar to what you were saying, Abs, it would take long rifle, short, and shot that just a ton as a kid, and a lot of fun. Had a detachable 5-round magazine in it too. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty neat. And then we had like bird shot for shooting birds, the little 22 bird shot, and so lots of fun with that gun as a kid.
That's fancy. We never bothered with those. I had no qualms with sending a 22 round through the air, possibly miles away. When you grow up in the woods in Missouri, you're like, it'll hit a tree.
So yeah, that's what I did, and then I guess I'll get into what I've so far started my kids off with, which I shared a little bit before, is a 22 cricket rifle, which has an action. It's a single shot, and it has an action very similar to some of the old Winchester. I think Winchester, like 67, had the same action where you had to manually pull the firing pin back. So completely manual everything. Single shot, no magazine. Very, very basic, very small rifle. I don't know the measurements on it, but I have to shoot it out like a pistol to actually shoot it. So no shouldering that for me.
That's cool.
For my kids, for Jeremy, my 10-year-old, he's 8 at the time. We took him out. A friend of mine went. I've been to some of the ranges here in Las Vegas. It's very kind of militant, I guess you would say. There's not a lot of freedom. So, and there is a lot of desert out there. So there's several areas you can get to with a 4x4. So we went out. I took everything out, and he had his choice to shoot whatever he wanted, and he picked a Winchester 1894 I have in 30-30.
Kidding. I'm so jealous of that kid.
So he wanted to do it, and I told him, I was like, this one's going to kick, dude. And he said, okay, I can handle it. And so I put it against his shoulder. I controlled the rifle the whole time. I had a friend brace his shoulder. He pulled the trigger on that, and that fear, that healthy fear of guns that we talk about, instantly came into him. And he said, that was really cool, but I don't want to shoot that one again.
Yep, that power will mess him up.
And so then we go to the Smith & Wesson 1022. I bought it for him, but I'm thinking about reneging on that and just keeping it myself. He loves that thing, and he'll plink with it all the time. I can set him up with a box of 500 rounds when it wasn't scarce, and he's really accurate with it. He likes it. He takes care of it. He cleans it. He treats it as his own, and that's been the gun he really likes. The next one is he's just gotten into handguns, and he's not a big fan of the H&Ks because they're a little bit heavier, but he does like shooting like Glock 17. And he handles it very well. He's pretty accurate with it. So he's impressed me a lot as a young shooter in the way he respects it. Still has some of his attitude stuff. He's about ready to lose his brain because he's going to become a teenager soon. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to guns, he's all business. So the 1022 from Smith & Wesson and the 1522 from Smith & Wesson and the Glock 17 are what he shoots the most right now.
Abs?
So the first gun my oldest daughter, my 10-year-old, ever had her hands on, that she shot was a .38 Special snub nose revolver when she was about 2.5. And the reason I did that, it was entirely in her hands, both hands wrapped around the grip, and then I had my hands fully wrapped around hers. And the reason I did that was because, little toddler, barely potty trained, she was starting to show a lot of interest. And I knew she had the earmuffs on, big, heavy ones, sucked over her ears, and the goggles on, or the safety specs on. And I knew if she felt that, because that's not a gentle pistol to shoot. I knew if she felt that she would immediately develop respect, and I knew it could scare her. I understood that was a possibility, but it was all I had at the time. She was showing interest. My wife at the time was with me, and she was okay with it. Like, it wasn't going to start a brawl or anything. So I sat down on the ground. I crossed my legs, kind of sat Indian style, and she sat on my lap, put it in her hands, and I cocked the hammer, and I said, okay. And I held that sucker firm. I said, when you're ready, squeeze the trigger. And took 2 fingers on both hands to be able to squeeze the trigger entirely, but she did it, and she kind of, and I held the gun as she turned around, and her eyes were so big, and she looked up at me like, that was big. That was all she could say, that was big. And I said, do you want to do it one more time? And she said yes. So I knew it didn't ruin her at that point. But she didn't learn on that gun. She didn't shoot anything else for about another 1.5 years. And then for her 4th birthday, it's going to make me sound crazy, my dad said, I think I think she's showing so much interest. I think we can get her something simple and get her on something to start getting comfortable. And so he bought her at Dick's was having a sale. Bought her one of those pink stocked cricket, Davy Cricket 22 rifles from Keystone Sporting Arms, and it's a bolt action, but it's a single shot in that there's the bolt, but then you also have to cock the firing pin, like Jake, you were talking about that on that Winchester. So there's a deliberate action to making it live. And so she, on her birthday, her 4th birthday, that June, shot 22 for the first time. And then she spent the next couple years doing that. We got into the TC business. I mentioned earlier, we got those hot shot, single shot guns. Unfortunately, Thompson Center doesn't make those anymore. Major drag because it's such an easy one to learn on. The deliberate process of breaking the barrel, putting the round in, closing it, and then cocking it. It was really, really good learner for her. Good for marksmanship. It's got a rear aperture and then a front blade. But yeah, and there are several options out there. I'm always really jealous of the kids I see learning with like a Henry, like a 22L, the lever action 22s, or the ones with the large loop. Because as a kid, I had the bolt action that was my great grandfather's, but I'd always wanted I was kind of a cowboy in my mind, as a kid, and I always thought having the lever gun would be so legit. But never got to do that, even, as a kid. And then, I turned 16 and started building ARs and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, anything that helps them learn the principles of loading, how to make the gun hot, when it's dangerous, always treat it like it's dangerous, but keeping the barrel down range. Because if they're handling it and they're, a lot of times they'll get the gun and they'll be putting around and they'll want to turn with it, they'll want to get it to where they're comfortable and stuff. And you could take and you could direct it back, saying, no, make sure the muzzle is pointed down range. It's pointed in the direction of the target, something that's not that you're willing to destroy if it goes off, because all 4 of those firearm safety laws are intended to offset the other. If you forget one but are obeying, at least one other one, you could have a negligent discharge, and if the gun is pointed in a safe direction, then nobody's going to be hurt. That's the beauty of those 4 laws. But yeah, the guns themselves, we have more options today for kids to learn safely. And JD, I am super impressed that your 10-year-old's handling the Glock 17, because my daughter's hand, who's 10, just turned 10, her hands are too small to use that. But she just literally today, we've been talking about this whole media circus surrounding her video, and she's like, I haven't done much handgun shooting, and I'd really like to start working on that. I'm like, all right, great, here we go. We'll never have money ever.
You got to keep making those videos to go viral.
Yeah, no, this is attention I don't want, man. Like the emails that are coming in through YouTube Messenger and the Facebook page and comments, like people are the level of anger where people who are anti-gun are telling us that they hope we get killed by a gun is everybody who's opposed. Dollars to donuts. It's like 1 out of 10 at least says that.
Wow.
Yeah. God bless America. Where you can say what you want on the internet without repercussion.
Jake, when you took your son out to shoot, how did it go for you? What was the process like?
So, very slow, very deliberate. Before we ever got started, I've been leading up to that, going over the 4 safety rules with him and everything. And then, even when we got to the range, before I let him handle it, we went over the safety rules again and everything. And then I showed him the fundamentals of the gun. I think we did a few times before we went to the range, and then again before we got ready to shoot it. And I believe I started him with 22 shorts as well. So yeah, I did, because so one thing, if you guys have any tips on this, please share. But one big problem of teaching kids to shoot is it's really hard to find proper size safety glasses and proper size hearing protection. Just really hard to find. And I've bought, I have kid size hearing protection, but it sucks. It's terrible. It's still it still is either too big, too tight, something. So using a 22 short, I was able to dump the Hearing Pro for us.
Oh, Jake, good note with that. And for parents thinking of good alternatives, the 22 short, and then there's also CB caps.
Mm-hmm.
They fire on the primer only. So you get those, they're 22 shorts, and you can get them in longs now where the force of the primer will propel it like 750 feet a second, which is still pretty solid, but it's actually quieter than modern air guns. So I meant to add that. That's what we used the first time we took my daughter out. And anyway, Jake, sorry about that. Go ahead. The shorts.
Yeah, good. No, that's good. But yeah, took it real slow, let him work everything, but I was right there with him, right behind him, touching him. I had one hand on him the whole time, and just took it slow. And I took reactive targets out, pop cans full of pop.
Nice.
So he
good.
He get a nice explosion, and
you take out child and let him shoot at cans, and they explode like sexy good time.
Yeah. But the look on his face when he popped the first can, it was pretty cool. He you could tell he was into it.
I've seen an underlying theme here. Do you guys remember, I think it was about a year and a half ago, the little girl that shot the Uzi out at the range? It's just actually about 100 miles away here. And the range officer was hit and was killed in that unfortunate accident.
Yes.
Do you guys remember that? I see that, that caused a lot of firestorm too about young kids handling firearms and learning how to shoot and things like that. The theme you just heard from the three of us dads is that you're out there with somebody who is hands-on, who has their hand over the gun, that is showing them the exact way to shoot, and should probably be maybe not ideal in all situations, but I'm going to say in a majority of situations, that is the person that child trusts the most on the planet, along with their mom. Or the mother shooter, whoever's doing the shooting. That's the parent.
The mother shooter.
Trying to be diplomatic.
Sorry, that was so good. Terminology. We're okay.
But they trust. Each one of our kids trust when we put our hands over there, or we brace the gun, or we hold the gun. They trust us, and that's a huge thing in having the confidence to fire. That is probably one of the most important things, second after the 4 gun safety rules, is that the instructor, the person that is teaching your child to shoot, that they have trust in them, and that those people are competent, whether dad or mom or an instructor, somebody who's competent to do that. You just heard 3 dads talk about, they love their kids more than anything on the planet. Ebbs has got his hands around his daughters, holding the gun and holding it firm. I've got my son braced. Jake's got his son going through methodical things and very slow to work through it. That's what we do when we teach our kids how to shoot. It's not a fly-by-night thing that, unfortunately, every news article seems to be like that right now, that we just let our kids loose with, the shoulder thing that goes up on an AR or something like that. It's not like that at all. It's very methodical and very caring, and a very trusting environment for a father or a mother and their child to go out shooting.
Yeah, we're not like Russians where you put a child, an AK, and a bear in a jail cell all at the same time and tell the kid if he wants to survive, you become man and you tame bear or die. Use AK to advantage.
My daughter would need the AK and she'd walk out with a fur pelt.
Seriously. But 7.62 though. Honestly, there are no. That was seriously great dissertation, JD, because we think people immediately think you're training kids to shoot. They immediately think you're handing a kid a full size AR-15 or something like a scope 30-06 and just telling them to fend for themselves. Like, okay, learn. Like, really the impression is that, oh my gosh, you turned a child loose with? No, there was no turning loose with. There was gentle instruction. There's praise. There's encouragement, and there's building up. Now, are any of us saying that those things don't happen? That there is such a thing as an irresponsible gun owner, or or parents who don't take the time to teach their kids properly? No, there absolutely are, and that's why Darwin's law is still true today. But honestly, I feel like as a firearm owner, as a shooter, as someone who has taken my family's responsibility to defense to the next level, as I share that with my kids, as an enthusiast and an owner myself, it is completely profoundly important that I take the time to explain to them the power, the familiarity, even if they decide they don't like to shoot, that they have a respect and understand it can be safe around. If I have an absent-minded moment and am loading the safe up after a range trip and one of the guns stays in its case and it's out, and she happens to crack it open to see if it's empty and one of the rifles is laying there, she comes and gets me because she knows if I see a firearm unattended, I go get Dad. I go get the closest adult that knows what's going on and knows what they're doing, because it's creating knowledge which prevents accidents, which prevents the curiosity that causes kids to get into deep water, into the thick stuff that creates accidents, that puts us on the news and makes us all look stupid.
Yeah, I like what you said there. All the time when if I'm taking a gun out of a safe, if I'm putting my carry gun on in the morning and there's a kid near me, we go over, what do you do if this is left open? What do you do if you find a gun somewhere? It's always, don't touch, go find Mom and Dad right away. And then we also go into, what if you're at a friend's house? What if you see a gun there? So you go through all the scenarios that could potentially pop up and make sure that they know, the right solutions and the right answers. So another thing I think you also said, Ebbs, was make it fun, make it enjoyable when you're taking the kids out to the range. Don't make it miserable. Don't be like super, and this might be hard for, depending on your parenting style, personality style, that might be a little bit hard, but you got to make sure that it's an overall fun experience for the kid. Otherwise, they're not going to want to do it again.
Yeah, bro, I think you were the one that said that, taking full pop cans out. I just made a joke of it as a Russian. That was all you. You could take credit for that.
But and JD, you shared your scope eye story, and that turned you off for years, right?
Yeah, it's something that I was like, I don't have anything against them, but man, the last time I picked up one of those things, it kicked my butt. So, that kept me from shooting. To think of what my collection would be like if that moment didn't happen to now, I'm kicking myself, because I'd had a lot of opportunities to do different things. But when I take my kids out, I want them to have fun, whether it's we've done balloons filled with whipped cream or something like that explode, and it will pick up the balloon and the animal will eat the whipped cream. Produce is also fun. Man, kids shooting watermelons and tomatoes and stuff, they get a kick out of that. We also do...
And it's like a Taurus commercial.
What was that?
And it's like a Taurus judge commercial.
Yeah, get that watermelon, light it up.
Sorry.
We shot one once with a Desert Eagle, but
Sorry, JD. Where were you going with that?
Wait. Yeah. Where did that end?
We shot one with the Desert Eagle, and that was the first and last time I shot the Desert Eagle, and then I sold it. So it's not always a fun experience for the person behind the trigger. But,
unless it's a 50 AE, it's a terrible pistol.
So they enjoy going out there and shooting those different things. Also, it never hurts to buy your kids Buffalo Wild Wings on the way back in to talk about everything they did, or sit down and have lunch and just make it, one-on-one time for them. It just helps build that memory of, what you're doing with your kid and teaching them something important, but also that they get to spend time with you as their parent.
Yeah, making it fun. What are some other fun targets you can use with kids?
Star targets makes actually all USA Chemical Supply, Star, the binary type targets. They make rimfire targets now too, and they're like little discs that you can put up like if you have a target board or something like that, where you can actually stick them to it. And even the lower velocity rimfire rounds will set them off, and those are stupid fun. But cans of shaving cream are cool. Even the like the little tumbling steel targets or the self-healing, self-healing polymer or rubber or plastic, whatever they are, that tumble. So there's some response, but they have to stick with it and follow it in order to shoot something that's maybe moving and wait for it to stop, or just to develop their skills, because that's kind of multifaceted with the purpose. It's cool.
Absolutely. And balloons blown. You said you filled the balloons with whipped cream? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Just put it over, and man, they love it when it pops. Boys, especially my son, since we have 3 girls in the house, so we're overrun. He loves when I sneak out one of their Barbies, because they have like 50 of them, and we're able to shoot the Barbie. It's like getting that aggression out, helping him deal with his feelings. So that works too every once in a while. Just don't make sure.
Oh, it's so good, man. I love the reality of your statements. It's just so much fun.
Such a great idea. You could just go to like Goodwill and load up on stuffed animals and take them out.
There you
go. Good stuff. Yeah. So let's cover real quick range choices, like the and JD, you mentioned that there's not a lot of friendly indoor ranges near you, but you can go into the great outdoors, and that's kind of the way I lean too, taking them somewhere outside versus inside.
Yeah, the desert here is friendly, like 9 months out of the year. Sometimes it's just extremely hot and you'll melt. But indoor ranges, I can't imagine putting my son in there with the concussion of what happens just a couple lanes over, and how I feel it. I know it would throw him off at this age. So we just go out and we find some backstops. Nevada Shooters is a great community that has identified several places that we're able to go out and find areas where we can safely shoot that are away from some of the places that tourists go to, or people who are just up to no good. So it takes a little to get out there, but man, you're out there with God's creation and your kid, and you're out there shooting and you're having fun. It makes for a really good afternoon. And at the range, it always feels rushed, and it doesn't feel like you have the chance to impart the wisdom as much as you would if you're able to stop down whenever you want and resume fire whenever you want.
Totally, yeah. And we have the privilege of shooting at a private farm with a range, so that's always nice.
You understand, everybody doesn't have the freedom to be able to do that, and if you don't, take extra precautions. If we're talking about indoor ranges or the concussive force for things like that, double up on your protection. Put earplugs in, and then put muffs over the top of it. Take precautions to make it as enjoyable experience as possible, so your child doesn't get legit PTSD. Because I've been in some indoor ranges like you're talking about, JD, that are just one after another, and some guys are shooting big stuff and it's parallel with your face, and you're going, I might need reconstructive sinus surgery after this. It's some freaky stuff. So that's the thing. However, if you have to do that, take extra precaution. Most of the shooting I've done with my oldest in the past 7 years has been on range, not private area. I'm fortunate that it's very large and it's spread out, and we have the ability to set up at an individual shorter range. Some of them 100 yards to 50, 200. Here's the 5-year-old actually coming in to say hi. You need to go to bed.
I want to cuddle with you.
Oh, of course. So we still kind of have some flexibility. We go through a safety course as members that kind of certifies you as a range officer. So whoever is there shooting at your lane or at your individual range, you're responsible for safety. And that's good. Being around other shooters, allowing your child to see you taking responsibility and understanding what hot range means, cold range, ceasefire, all the different things that you have to do in order to keep things safe when there's more than one firearm around. That stuff sticks with them. And as we've been saying, the weight and gravity of what the tool is possible of just resounds with them with that repetition over and over, and it's different to them too when they see it in someone else's hands. If there's a gun in someone else's hand that isn't yours, Dad is familiar. They're used to that. They're used to seeing Dad with a firearm. But the idea of seeing someone else with one and having to see what it's like to see someone else be responsible is very educational for them too.
Absolutely. So I think that about wraps up our main topic here. Final thoughts, JD?
Just take it at your own pace. You're going to know. You're the best person to know when your kid's going to be ready to go out and learn how to shoot. Don't media articles or news reports, all that stuff. They don't know your kids. They're just saying stuff to get ratings and to produce a news story. You know your kid best. You know when they'll be ready. You know how slow or what technique to take with them. And, don't be afraid to go slow. Go slow, methodical, work through it. And I think both you and your child will enjoy going out there and teaching and learning how to shoot.
Anything to add, Ebbs?
Yeah, just if you are a firearms owner, if you're a shooter and you have children and you're not working to educate them and expose them to it, you're doing yourself a disservice in passing on your legacy. You're doing your kids a disservice in potential sticky situations they might find themselves in, which you couldn't account for or might not be around for. And two, we got to pass it on. We have to share. We have to share the knowledge. We have to share the heritage and the value of it with the next generation. Otherwise, what good does it do to have kids that grow up and forget having a passion for it, don't even have an understanding for it, and then you have no one to leave your guns to except an estate sale, or B, worst of all, your kids find them, don't know anything about them or care, and then give them away and don't do anything to further their own knowledge, protection, hobby, whatever. They have to be educated. And so if you're into that, start teaching your kids. I'll say it's never too early depending on the kid, and it's never too late. High school, junior high, college, whatever. Educate them.
Absolutely.
Gun Guy Radio says thank you and proudly displays artwork and graphics designed by Ryan Cross of Hunter of Design. HunterofDesign.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is second inning stretch time. We invite you to join in singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Patches, get your patches here. Patriot Patch Company has all your favorite flavors. Tactical, Western, sci-fi, pop culture, hot and ready. Don't forget to wash it down with a Pro Gun custom screen printed t-shirt. Available in sizes medium to 5XL. They're great for any occasion. Patches, get your patches at patriotpatch.co.
Next week is Independence Day special, 4th of July coming up here. Tune in next week. Revamped Patreon perks. Check out the new Patreon perks for Gun Guy Radio over at patreon.com/gun. And all this is an easy way for you to crowdfund every episode of Gun Guy Radio. You can pledge as little as $1 per episode. We'll send you some awesome stickers. $5 an episode can either get you an FRN shirt or a Gun Guy Radio patch, your choice. $8 an episode, you can hang out with us, or you can choose a supply drop box of swag. And then we have the Patch of the Month Club, T-shirt of the Month Club, and then also a larger supply drop box. Patreon.com/gun. Please pledge your support for free pro-gun radio. Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. Check out the Pro Gun T-shirts over at Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. And Ryan Cross, Hunter of Design, hunterofdesign.com. If you're looking for awesome graphics design, website work, if you need business cards, a new logo, whatever it is, hunterofdesign.com. Well, this is part of the show where we find out what is going on in these guys' world. JD, what's up with you and the AR-15 podcast, and where can people connect with you online?
We're at facebook.com/AR15 podcast. What's going on over there? We finally got the winner literally 5 minutes before we went to another name to win the New Frontier Armory 9mm carbine. I mean, literally 5 minutes. The guy was panicking. But we gave that away. We're also teaming up with Aero Precision for the next couple of months, giving away one of their M5 308 builds. So a lot of things going on over there. Reed's as salty as all get out still, so he's entertaining to watch and listen to over there. So come on over and check us out at the AR-15 podcast.
Very cool. Abs, where can people connect online, and what's up?
Well, I'm House of Guns everywhere, HAUS of Guns. Everywhere except for Snapchat, but YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, I'm on there as Everyday Ebbs, EVERYDAY EBBS. And you can find me probably on a major news network near you, explaining to the world why it's okay to teach your child how to shoot an AR-15 at 7 years of age, and that there's a safe and smart way to do it, and they need to learn. And at the age where their mind is the most ready for new information is a good time to do it. So I'm just I'm adding some potential predictions there. I don't know that that'll actually happen, but hopefully soon enough the internet will leave me alone and I can go back to my fun stuff.
Very cool. Remember to subscribe to Gun Guy Radio with iTunes or your favorite podcatcher app. Please consider joining the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation. And don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. And also shop with that Amazon affiliate link, bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. Well, thank you, JD.
Thanks for having me, Jake.
Thank you, Ebbs.
Thank you, Jake Shalon.
That's a wrap. We'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I kind of forgot in all this excitement. But being this is the Guns of Hollywood podcast on the most popular pro-gun podcast network in the world and will blow your eardrums clean out, you've got to ask yourself a question. Have you subscribed yet? Well, have you, punk? GunsOfHollywood.com or search Guns of Hollywood on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher app. Punk.